According to a survey carried out in 2019, Chelsea Football Club was voted the most hated club in the English Premier League.
Chelsea!
Fan or not, you have to admit that the hate Chelsea gets is a bit more than usual. But why is that? In this video, we'll be looking at 10 reasons why everybody hates Chelsea Football Club. At the end of the video, we want you guys to flood the comments and tell us if these reasons justify the hate the London club gets. Number 1. They practically bought their success. Chelsea were pretty much a nothing club before Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich bought the club in 2003. He immediately injected £100 million into signing new players and a new coach. And just 2 years later, they were Premier League and League Cup champions. The following year, they won the title again, becoming the first team to retain the English First Division title since World War II. By 2007, Chelsea had already established themselves as a European powerhouse, winning both the League Cup and the FA Cup and marching on to their first ever Champions League final the following year. Although they lost that final to United in 2008, they kept enjoying success, thanks to their financial ability to get the best players in the world. They eventually won the Champions League in 2012 thanks to their star-studded squad and established themselves as the most successful team in the country's capital. Fast forward to 2020 and Chelsea went on another splurge. That season they had an attack that cost over £200 million. And not to mention that they'd already spent a fortune on a goalkeeper they ended up keeping on the bench. Well, all that spending won them another Champions League in 2021, and that just got rival fans even angrier, especially the ones in London. Number 2. They have ruined great players. Amidst all the big spending they've done, Chelsea have missed a lot of times in the transfer windows. On a number of occasions, we've seen the West London club just go out and buy players they don't need, or players that obviously do not fit into their system, just because they have the money. Of course, the most famous instance is Fernando Torres, but there have been more. A lot more before and after him. Shevchenko, Kezman, Scott Parker, Shaun Wright-Phillips, Barkley, Bakayoko, Drinkwater and a couple more others. Oh, and let's not forget how they are so bad at recognising gems right under their noses. The sin of not recognising the talent that Juan Cuadrado is would have been easily forgiven if they were not the same club that failed to see how phenomenal Mo Salah and Kevin De Bruyne were in their early days. Number 3. Savage players. Sometimes the players don't even help the club's case. A lot of people do not like Chelsea Football Club simply because of the players. Of course, you will enjoy all the shithousery if the player plays for your club, but as a rival, it definitely can be pretty annoying. Take Rudiger for example, and how he reacted to winning a penalty against Malmo, or when he tried to scuff up the penalty spot before Salah converted against them. Even though we have to admit this is fast becoming common practice in the modern game, it doesn't make it any less infuriating. Oh, and we must not forget Diego Costa. His savagery while he was at Chelsea surely won the club a lot more enemies. Number 4. John Terry. Speaking of players, the club's most celebrated captain and one of their outright legends is one of the reasons that people do not love the London club today. And to be fair, it's hard to fault him. This man was stripped of captaincy twice in the England national team because of his bad behaviour. Today it's racism, tomorrow he's parking in a handicapped spot, the day after he's punching a man in the face. JT really cheated on his partner with a teammate's partner and even got her pregnant. So you can surely understand if people don't like the man and the club he captained for the longest. Number 5. Carnero Gate. Surely you remember the story of the Chelsea first team doctor Eva Carnero, who was very poorly treated at Chelsea. The young lady was only doing her job that day when she rushed onto the pitch to attend to an injured Hazard after she was summoned by the officiating ref. But Mourinho got angry that she rushed onto the pitch because it meant that Chelsea, who were playing with 10 men because of a red card, were temporarily down to 9. But what was supposed to be a minor altercation was blown up by the club, and even a year later there were still lawsuits flying around just because a woman did her job. This singular act won Chelsea many enemies, and the apology they later tendered to her was not enough for many fans to overlook all that transpired prior. Number 6. Ref rage. Chelsea players are always raising their voices at the ref, so much so that they even got charged for it once in 2018. And it doesn't matter whether it's the UCL semi-final against Barcelona or just a regular Premier League game against Huddersfield, the rage is the same. Yeah, we know sometimes you have a valid claim, but how about you just calmly communicate your displeasure with the ref instead of harassing him? Number 7. The fans. Chelsea fans are pretty insufferable, and the success they began to enjoy about 2 decades back has just fueled their arrogance even more. And if it was just arrogance, that would have been okay, but it's a lot worse than that. Chelsea fans have been found guilty of racism and outright violence. Also, on more than one occasion, the club's fans have been pretty hostile to their own players. Remember when a huge sect of the fan base was accusing Lampard of favouritism because an obviously hard-working Mason Mount was seeing a lot of game time? Willian, Jorginho, Diego Costa, Courtois, Saul are some players who have been on the receiving end of the wrath of Chelsea's fans in recent years. Number 8. Their loan system. But why do Chelsea loan so many players, and so many times too? There were players like Kenneth Omaru and Patrick Bamford who were Chelsea players for years, but they never got to play a single minute for the club. Like, why did you sign them if you knew you were not going to use them at all? If not for the transfer ban that was imposed on them a couple of years back, most of these young guys like Mount, Loftus-Cheek, Reece James, who now form the core of the team, would have been languishing somewhere on loan. But even in spite of that, the West London club still has a lot of players out on loan. There's Gallagher at Crystal Palace, Broja at Southampton, Emerson at Lyon, Billy Gilmore at Norwich, and that's just a few out of a very long list. But trust Chelsea to go and spend some more money on some more players while they ruin players they've already previously signed by sending them on loan everywhere. Number 9. Incessant sacking. The way Chelsea's run is a pretty bizarre way to run a football club. They're absolutely impatient with their coaches, and it's just like you're under pressure from the very first day you get the job, and you never get any respite. Mourinho, who is still the club's most successful manager to date, was sacked twice. Avram Grant, who led the club to their first ever Champions League final, only losing on penalties, was sacked just days after that game against United. They had one of the most successful managers in history, Carlo Ancelotti, come in and win a domestic double, but they sacked him the following season after he finished second. Hell, Di Matteo, who won them their first UEFA Champions League trophy, was sacked just 6 months after conquering Europe. Absolutely nothing can save you from the ruthlessness of the Russian at the helm. It just feels like they just keep using people and absolutely do not give much room for bad days. So Tuchel, you better watch your back, because that UCL medal and even FIFA's the Best Coach of the Year award will not save you when the club wakes up and feels like they don't want you anymore. Number 10. Success. Let's just be honest here. Many people hate Chelsea because of their success. And it's understandable. When you're dominating, it is expected that your rivals will grow to hate you, just because. The West London club are the only football club in history to be holders of both the Champions League and the Europa League titles at the same time. They're also the only club to have won all 3 major UEFA club trophies twice. With records like these, why won't clubs all over the world hate them? But of course, most of the hate comes from England. Chelsea are the most successful English football club in the 21st century. That alone has made them one of the most hated clubs in the country. Since 2010, Chelsea alone have won more Champions League trophies than the rest of the clubs in the Premier League combined. Why won't the other clubs hate them? And the hate from London is obviously worse. Apart from the obvious age-old rivalries, Chelsea still stand as the only London club to have ever won the Champions League, and now they've done it